Well, hello, Disability Network of Wayne County, Detroit consumers. Welcome to the art therapy session number 1. We'll be exploring repousser. Yes, that's a French word. It's repousser. And what that means is to push forward. This is our first session. We're going to be meeting Monday and Wednesday from 10 to 12. This is pre-recorded. So hopefully all of you all have received your wonderful goodie bag from the Disability Network of Wayne County, Detroit. And so we're going to explore some of the contents of this bag. But before I do that, I want to show you our project sample, which I have in front of me. This is what a repousser looks like. This is my repousser. Let's see if I could turn it up around like this. You guys can kind of get a better view. So you got a lot of glare there. Well, so you can see what it looks like, and I can also kind of angle it down. This piece I did is actually in copper. The one that we're going to do today will be in brass. So let's get started. I'll put this over to the side, and we're going to open our bag first so you can see what all is in there. But you know what the project is going to look like, something like what I just showed you. So we're opening our goodie bag. There's lots of stuff in here. It's actually stuff in here from multiple projects. But the first thing I want you to pull out is your file folder. So your file folder's got some good information. Don't take everything out at once, because see, then all your supplies get kind of jumbled up and mixed up, and you really don't want that. Keep it in a bag and just take the stuff out as I guide you on what to take out, okay? So the first thing you want to take out, and I have, how do I say this? I arranged the bag so that your metal is on the top, so you don't have to look for this. So hopefully every bag is that way, hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. But this is brass, and this is what it looks like. So you're going to take your brass out and set it on your work table. And then what I want you to take out, this is what I've prepared for you all, is this. And you're probably looking at it backwards, but this is what it looks like. It is your lesson plan. It should say brass, art, metal, foil, push forward equals repousser. At the top right here where my hands are, you see participant name and date. I've even signed this for you all. So once you complete this activity, I thought, oh, it'd be cool. They can have a certificate, they can frame it or something, or say, look at the courses I completed. So once you complete this course, which should happen in about 2 hours, if not sooner, maybe we'll get out sooner, I don't know. But you're going to write the date here that says that you completed, and you can also put your name at the top and the date, so the date is on here twice. But anyhow, let's get started, because we may need all of this time that we have to complete this project. And it's easy, guys, so don't worry, it's easy, don't freak out. It's you're gonna see it's very easy. So what I want you to do, we're going to read this out loud together. It says brass, which is an alloy of copper and zinc, and it's the historical name and enduring importance because of its hardness and workability. The earliest brass, called calamine brass, dates to Neolithic times. It was probably made by reduction of mixtures of zinc ores and copper ores. So it's really a mix. That's what it's telling you. Brass is a mix. Our goal today is I can create metal artwork using the repousser method, which means to push forward. Repousser is a method of decorating metals in which parts of the design are raised in relief form. So if you think back to my sample that I showed you, you can see that some of the pieces were raised up and some of them were kind of pushed down. And that happens from working from the back and the front of the metal. So see, the metal has two sides that look exactly alike. So, but after a while, you're going to see a front and a back, because once we start making these changes to the metal, 2D will become 3D, which is relief. Does that make sense? So anytime you hear the word relief, that's a flat piece of metal or paper or anything that's got something sticking out the front. And that's what I mean when I say 2D becomes 3D. So 2D is 2-dimension, front and back, top and bottom. 3D would be 3 dimensions, top, bottom, and then you have the depth. So in other words, length, width, and depth would be 3D. All right, so back to our lesson plan. So repousser is a method of decorating in which parts are raised the bag inside of the article by means of pressure by various metal tooling instruments. And I'll show you your tools. They're in the bag too, but I don't want you to take them out yet. Let's try to finish this. The definition in detail can be added from the front or the back. The name repoussé is derived from the French word pousser, to push forward. That's what it means in French. The technique is ancient and has been used extensively in Europe. So if you ever get lost, I'm not gonna read all the steps, but if you ever get lost, look at these steps here. So I have step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. So step 1 is to gather all needed supplies. So we have our metal out, and we're about to take out the rest of the stuff out the bag, okay? So we can have everything that we need. So what else is in the bag is you got these poster boards. You don't need that today. So we're gonna take that out. Or I shouldn't say take it out, just put it to the side, okay? You have these toothpicks. You will need it. This is not for picking your teeth, guys. Well, it is, but not today. We're gonna repurpose it. This is gonna be for making fine detail on your metal. All right, so I know some of the stuff in the bag might be like, okay, why did Ms. Hodge put this in here? That's why. And a lot of people call me Mook, by the way. They even introduced myself, goodness. Well, I'm Mook Hodge. So I have also included in your kit goggles. You might want to wear, let's put these on. This is a safe measure because you are working in metals and you are using what? Pointy tools such as toothpicks, and there's some other pointy tools in this bag too. They're all plastic, but they're still pointy. So again, we don't want any accidents. We want to be safety conscious. Ah, my whole wrap just falls off. All right. So one quick thing, our goggles have to be adjusted. So I'm pulling this string here. And let's see. This is how we adjust the goggles. All right, adjusted the goggles on the side. So you guys go ahead, adjust your goggles if you haven't already. Put your goggles on because once you get started with this, you don't want any accidents. So now what we have out, we have our 2 pieces of brass. I got a little hot mess over here. We got our toothpicks, put that to the side. That's trash, just throw that on the ground. Take out 2 sheets of your drawing paper. You have some white drawing paper here. Here are these, okay? You're gonna close your folder, so you don't need that file folder anymore. You have your lesson plan, your brass, your toothpicks in your folder. We're gonna put all that on the side because we're not actually working with that. You will need your pencil. This is also another pointy instrument, but a tool that we need. You will need your spoon, your plastic knife. These are all tools that we can use in metal. It may have come like this in a bag. Okay. So open your bag, take out your silverware. And I put these silverware in just to show you things you can use at home that will work with your metal. Also in the bag, there are gloves. If you feel more comfortable working with gloves or working in gloves, you can keep them on. But if not, then just put them back in the bag because you're not going to need them. Also in the bag, there is a water bottle. So if you get thirsty, this is something you might want to do before the start of class, is use a water bottle. But since we've already started, just don't worry about it. Hopefully you can save that for another day. Hopefully you got some water next to you or something like that. Okay, so there's a few more things in the bag that we need to talk about that you're gonna need. You're gonna need this paper towel, and you'll see why in 1 second. So we're gonna put our paper towel over here, our brass on top. We got our tools. I got my little mouse to my computer up there, but you don't have to worry about the mouse. Let's see. Also, what you're gonna need today is this pre-cut black mat from Blick. Let me put it right here so you can see it. You will need the black mat, but you might not need it today because eventually the project gets matted. However, since we're making 3 different Ray-Pouzés and 3 different metals, you're gonna choose the one you like the best and put it in the mat. So you're not gonna need this today, but remember, the best one goes in the mat. The other ones can then be practice pieces, okay? If that makes any sense. You will need this black marker, which was in the bag with the silverware. So take out your black marker, find in your work table, your workstation. All the other stuff can go over to the side. And you are going to need these 3 tools. So these are the 3 main tools that we're going to use with the Ray-Pouzé. Like I said, they look like bone, but they're actually plastic, but they are kind of pointy and a little bit sharp. So that's why we have the eye protection. Eye protection is important. Also, if you are in a setting with multiple people that, you know, might not be family members, you also might want to wear your face mask. However, I'm just here alone, so I'm not going to put my face mask on. There are face masks in the bag. Okay, so as I was saying, make sure you got your goggles on. So everyone's got their goggles on, hopefully. You have your tools. So take a peek at my setup. I'm gonna move some of my tools up a little bit higher so that you can see everything that I have. Brass, the 3 modeling tools, the white drawing paper, you have your pencil, your black marker, your toothpicks. See, we put the toothpicks up here so you can see that really good. And you have your lesson plan. So we have done step 1, which is to gather all needed supplies. The next step is to place fabric or padded surface underneath the foil to cushion pressure. So what I use is an extra bag, but what you can use is any type of fabric, anything that's soft, a piece of fabric, a towel. I can take this hair wrap off and stick it on here, but I'm not gonna do that. But you know what I mean? Anything, a pair of pants, anything padded. And the reason why is because we're going to be pressing into this metal with these tools, and it needs a surface to kind of cushion it. If it's a flat table, you're not going to get as much detail, as much fine detail as you could. So that's why you want to use a pad, something soft. It's got to be soft. So I'm going to use an extra bag that I happen to have. If you even want to take all your contents out your disability bag and use that, you can use that. I don't really encourage you to do that because then you have to put them all back in and you don't want nothing to get lost. So, but if that's all you have, then go right ahead and use that bag and just make sure you put everything back in there when you get done. Okay, so we're going to set that over to the side because even though that is step 1, we're going to move on to step 2. Step 2 says that we should create a sample drawing representing what the finished artwork will look like. And that's actually important. And if you look over here to the left, okay, right here, you'll see that in the picture, this person was working in aluminum. And then before they got started working in aluminum, they created a drawing. And that drawing was in paper and pencil. And that's why we have the paper and pencil. So we're going to put our instructions over to the side. And now we're going to just tap into our mind and into our creativity and see what kind of design we can come up with. So this person did a circle, a circular design. Your design could be anything. Let's do something simple, y'all. Like lines, small shapes, lines and shapes. We're gonna keep it really simple. And that's what this person did. See? This person has these squiggly lines going that way and some squiggly lines going this way and a circle and it's some squiggly. It's that simple, y'all. I know it seemed like, wow, look at that. Well, that's how it started, with just a real simple paper and pencil drawing. So that's what we're going to do on paper. So I don't think I want mine to be circular. I'm going to do something a little bit more square. But I am going to use lines and shapes. So I'm going to put a line like that and like that. Sometimes it helps to kind of like draw in your work area so that you're not just, it helps to do that. So we maybe should have did that first. So I don't know if you can see, but I just drew a rectangle here. Let me see if I can angle that down a little bit so you can see. Oh, looks like my cell phone camera kind of sucks. Well, anyhow, I have a square. Matter of fact, that's why we have this black marker. It's time to switch to the black marker. So start over And that's also why I put a lot of extra paper in your bag, because you may end up needing to start over too. Here's another quick fix that we can do. And it's good that I make mistakes, because that way, if you make any mistakes, you can kind of figure out what you need to do to get back on track. So we're going to trace this piece of brass. And I have this brass taped off for you all so that you can feel comfortable using it. It's a little bit sharp, so do not remove the tape around the brass. It's a little, it's not razor sharp, but it's sharp. Okay, so don't remove the tape. That's much better, y'all. We can see, everyone can see. Okay, so we're gonna put our brass to the side, and now we're gonna create our design with marker, but you can do it with pencil, because if you can see the pencil, then use the pencil. But if you can't see the pencil, use a marker. Okay, does that make sense? And I'm using a marker for the purposes of this Zoom, so you can see what I'm doing. But you can also use a marker. The advantage of using the pencil is that if you make a mistake, you have what? An eraser. That's why I like the pencil. But the marker we can see on Zoom. So we're going to use the marker for that. So remember I said lines and shapes. So your lines, I like to start at the edge and just kind of take my lines edge to edge. But like I say, we're going to keep this design incredibly simple. Like really simple. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Something this simple. They call this a radiating design because it starts at one point, which is right here. And it just kind of just radiates, almost like the sun or the sunlight. Okay, so we got these radiating lines, and I want to put another shape in here. I kind of got a little sloppy on this side, so I'm going to have to redraw my square. I want to stick a shape in here. Let me see. I think I'm going to put a couple of triangles. Now, here's the thing with your design. Your design is incredibly important, because the more detail and the smaller the things are that you create in paper, then the more detailed your drawing has to be. So you got to watch making things really small, because that's what you're going to have to do with the tools. And that can be a little challenging. So I'm just going to stick a handful of triangles in the design. So we got one there. I'm going to put one here. And okay, just a handful of triangles, not that many, because like I say, again, the more detailed your design is, the more work you have to do. And we want to keep this class within 2 hours, if not less than that. Okay, so we got one there, we got one here. Okay. Just kind of going back over some of these square lines. This is the artist in me. Like, things have to be perfect. I mean, they don't have to, but I try to get them really neat. That's just how I am. Okay, so the next thing you want to do with your design is you want to start to determine which areas of your design are going to be pushed forward and which areas of your design are going to be pushed in. Some things are going to pop up and some things are going to sink down. Okay, so the things that are going to pop up, we're going to leave white. And the things that we want to sink down, we're going to make black. So actually what I want to do on my design is, with the marker, some of these lines, they're going to actually sink in. That's what I want to happen with these lines. They're going to sink in. And I'm going to make all the lines sink in. And I'm making them a little bit thicker because they're going to end up thicker once you start using your tools anyway. So let's just go on and thicken these lines. What this is telling us is that these are areas that we're going to push in on the metal. And remember, the white spots are areas that we're going to push forward. So we're going to have to flip the metal over and do it the other way. You'll see once we get there. Maybe I'm gonna make all the lines thicker because they're gonna all be pushed in. They're gonna all sink down. And you'll see once they sink down, they'll start to make a bumpy appearance on your metal. All of these are going to end up a little bit darker. Your actual design is going to vary a little bit from your drawing. You'll see that too. It'll start to take its own form and its own shape, but it still should look close. Also, I decided that I want these entire triangles to be sunken into the metal. I don't want these to pop up. I want these to sink down. So what's happening is I'm creating contrast on my drawing that shows the areas on the foil, the metal foil that will be pushed in. And the place that so okay, we gotta get that in. All right, that's enough of that. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna start working in metal. So we have our design. Soon my metal is gonna look like that. I think I dropped my spoon. I have a backup spoon, so I'm not even gonna pick that up. So we're going to put our padding back into play. That, I'm gonna have to move that out the way. Back a little bit, just kind of getting set up, particularly for you all, so you can see what I'm doing on both pieces. It's helpful to have your actual drawing in front of you and your metal down below, okay? And since I'm gonna just be working in marker, I'm gonna take my goggles off, and they were getting foggy, y'all. So take that out. It helps to try to redraw your black and white drawing onto the metal with the marker. So we'll just do it like that. Now, you don't actually have to use the marker. This is the problem with the marker. The marker is gonna leave marks because this is a permanent marker. The marks will stay on the metal. But once we start working with the tools, those marks will become less pronounced. But as of right now, we're gonna just use the marker to create the designs on the metal because we can see them. Whereas without, we can't use the pencil, and we don't want to just freehand with the tool because maybe we're not that good. So we're gonna just do it with the marker on the metal, and then we'll start doing it with the tool, okay? So again, this is where hand coordination comes into play. So what I'm gonna do, I don't have a transfer or anything, so I'm gonna have to just look at my design and try to take what I see here and put it on the metal. So we're gonna start in the corner again and go up. And so like I say, it's gonna change a little bit. It's not gonna look exactly like my drawing, but that's where the fun comes into play, because you can later compare your drawing to your metal and say, oh, they kind of look similar, but they also kind of look a little different. So I had a triangle here. Again, your drawing is really your guide. Your actual artwork is what you're doing right now. The drawing is just the guide. So if you even want to deviate just a little bit from your drawing, feel free to. That's your creative license. So I'm going to put another triangle about right here. So as you can see, I've deviated already because my design had 1, 2, 3 lines before the next triangle. So already I've deviated, but that's what I mean when I say that your drawing is a guide. Up here, you're going to put another triangle, and then I think I'm going to put a triangle right there. Okay. So remember, I was telling you that the darkened areas of your design in black and white are the areas where you're going to push down with your tool. So I'm going to put those darkened areas on my metal drawing. It's just, I'm going to just be a little bit easier with it. I'm not going to go so heavy because, again, this is a permanent marker. So those marks will stay on the metal. So I'm just going to be easy with it. I'm not going to, like here, I just made it really dark and just really thick. But here I'm going to darken them, but I'm not going to overdo it. Okay, so we got that here, got that there. Yep, and I remember that I said all the lines, I wanted all the lines to be pushed in, and all the areas that I didn't make dark are gonna pop up. Sometimes in art, we call it the hills and the valleys, if that makes sense. So the hills are the areas that are still brass colored, and the valleys are the black areas. So does that make sense? You can understand places that's going down and places that's popping up, hills and valleys. Okay, so that's going to become darkened. Oops. Put this over here. Okay, so like I say, I darkened them, but I didn't go overboard like I did with my initial drawing. I just kept it simple. So put the top back on your marker. That's actually an important step because if you don't, it stays out. Maybe you might need this marker or any of these supplies class for your next project. So make sure you put everything back in the bag when you get done. You might end up reusing some, especially the marker. The marker and the pencil should go back in the bag for sure, because you'll probably need this for your next session. So now what you want to do, you have your foil drawing. See, got my foil drawing. Put that off to the side. Remember this other piece of brass that I gave you. This piece is actually your sample piece. We're going to just play around with the tools. This is nothing important. I just want you to test out all your tools before you do anything on your actual piece, because you make a wayward mark and now that's not what I wanted. So that's why we're going to test all the tools. This is the fun part where you get just play around with the tools in the middle. And so you can also start to see what kind of pressure you want to put on the, what marks the tools make. And so you'll know when you get to your actual piece, okay, this is the tool I want to use here, and this is the tool I want to use there. Because as of right now, you have what? 3 pieces of silverware, 3 modeling tools, and 3 toothpicks. I put a couple extras in the bag, but you're probably only going to need 1. So let's play around with the tools. So this first tool is a liner tool. And actually, you get double tools. On this side, you have another tool. So this is double tools. This might be a good time to put on your goggles, because you see how I'm doing like that with my eye? Okay. All right, so we're going to start putting some pressure on here. So you have your padded surface. That's what this green thing is. This could be a pair of jeans, a pillow, a blanket, a hair wrap, anything that fit under here. So you want to just start pressing into the metal. You can hold this like a pencil if you want, or you can hold it like that, whatever way is comfortable for you. But remember, this is our test piece. We just want to see what each tool does. So as you can see, as I'm putting pressure on this metal, remember I made that line so thick. So remember to do that on your metal piece, to push in as thick as you made the line. Is as thick as, so if I would have just made a line like that, is that the line you want, or is it a thick line that you want? That's some choices that you have to make based on your drawing and based on what you know that you want. Okay, so this is the liner tool. Now this tool here, it also makes lines. It makes like straight lines. See how it's very straight up there. But it can make straight lines going this way. It can make straight lines going that way. There are different ways you can make this line. I can also press it to here and make a line. Here's the reason why you don't want to do this on the table. The table flattens everything that you do. See how it didn't do anything? Because it's on a flat surface. So you gotta have a padded surface underneath it. So that's this tool. We know what that does. Now we have this pointer tool. Oh wait, is that the same? Right. That was the same tool. We have our modeling tool. Okay, and so let's press into this and see what it does. It's got a rounded end and it's got another end that kind of looks like a spoon. So let's test that out. So it makes some like blunt kind of marks, but all the marks are kind of made the same way by just pressing into the metal. Literally, you're gonna have to hold it or it'll start bouncing around. So hold it a little bit. Remember, this is our test piece, so you do whatever you want in this piece. I mean, if you want to put a lot of pressure here, you can. And that's why I say these activities are fun because they kind of help you beat the blues. Like if you just need to release some stress, some pressure, some tension, it can help you beat the blues. Really, it can. Okay, so that's all I'm showing you all is just the varying amounts of pressure. You can press really hard into this and it'll help you beat the blues because maybe this is helping you get some stress off your back, you know, could be some stress going on in your life. And also remember, we can turn this over the other way. So I flipped my piece of metal over. I want everyone to flip your test piece over and let's see what we can do from the back. It is important to hold this a little bit because it helps you to get the angle that you want. So I like this little bump here. Do you see that little bump? See that? It looks like a little speed bump, right? On the street. You see that bump? Well, I want to kind of put some pressure next to the bump to help make this bump stand out a little bit more. So I want to put a lot of pressure in here because this is actually one of the places that I want to pop out. So now, did you see how I jumped from that side to this side? On this side, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm putting a lot of pressure here and just kind of gently working this foil. So eventually, at some point, your corners will lay flat. That's a process. But that's all we're doing is just rubbing front and back with the tools. Here goes another tool. This is the spatula tool. It's got a flat edge here. It's got a real rounded edge on that side. I like this tool because it's so wide, you can cover a lot of ground. That's why I know you're like, oh, this little tiny piece of foil is going to be the art. Yes, and if it was bigger, it would take you a lot more time to finish. So that's why the foil is so small. But we're going to use this tool to kind of press over in here and maybe even get our edges to stay flat. See how you can cover a lot of space here. And see how this thing is starting to really bounce up. So at this point, we're going to go back and forth. I love these spoons, knives, and forks because they do some amazing stuff too. So I'm going to show you what your spoon, knife, and fork can do. Look at that. I almost like these household items better sometimes than your modeling tools because now my corners are staying down. So if you want the corners to stay down, you got to put some pressure over there or they're going to keep popping up. Okay, so we got the corners to kind of stay down. Now I'm thinking I want to come back on this side and work some more, but this time I'm going to use this fork tool. So your fork tool is an interesting tool because you got these 4 prongs here, but I actually like this end way better. The handle end of the fork, it does some amazing stuff. Okay. So this is also where design comes into play. It is helpful to have a design or else you're just pressing and making random presses into the foil. That's why we did our design first. But I do want to show you what this tool can do. Let's say you had some lines. I don't know, maybe like some spirally lines. You can draw them on and you keep pressing on it. Some of your shapes may be a little lighter than others. Like, let me see if you can see that. Okay, so you see how light that is? It's a little bit more subtle than these two, but that's all based on pressure. If I went on this side, maybe you'll see more of it. Maybe I did the same shape or some different shapes. I can also work on both sides of this and come up with something. So that's kind of like our demo. Oh, I didn't show you the knife. So the knife tool can do some good stuff too. It also is kind of like that pointer tool. Is good for making really straight lines, almost like you're cutting. If you hold it, you can cut like that. Okay, so, all right, remember the handles is also a part of your tool. So if you wanted to just do something like that, okay, and see what that do. That's why I gave you one mat, because I know that maybe not all of your Repoussés will come out to be the masterpiece that you're hoping to have. But I'm thinking that out of all three of these Repoussé projects, one should be the winner. And that's the one that's going to go in the mat, and maybe one day you'll frame it like I did mine. So we're going to put our sample piece to the side. That was just a sample, as good as that looks. And we're going to take out our design piece, and we're going to get started. So my goggles are getting a little bit foggy over there, so I'm going to just take them out. If you are worried about your eyes, just know that the plastic might be the way to go. The spoon and the fork. So remember I said I wanted the brass places, which is also the white places on my drawing, to be popped up, and I said I want the black to pop in. So I got to keep that in mind as I'm working. I'm going to get one of my tools. I think I'm going to get this tool because I like this round edge, and I also like this edge too. And I want to just kind of press on these black lines. They may start to disappear. Remember, these are guidelines because this is a permanent marker, but we all know that it can be removed, and this is how to do it. Okay, so I made that line really dark, so I know I want to put a lot of pressure there. I did go off track a little bit right here, but it's art, it's not math. That's the cool thing about art, is that if you are off a little bit, it's called a happy mistake, okay? So here on our next line, we're going to do something similar, just pressing into the foil. I suggest do all your lines first. All the lines that's going to be sunken in, go on and do that first, and then we'll flip it over and start doing some stuff on the back. Okay, so I'm going to do that line. It is a little bit challenging to keep this tool straight, and you might even choose to use another tool to do this. There's another tool that could have probably done this. I chose this tool. But don't worry about it being straight, because like I said, it is art. And even my drawing wasn't straight. I didn't have a rule to make it super straight. So it's okay if it's going off track a little bit. Keep your foil on the padded surface. Otherwise, you don't get this kind of, you don't get what you want. So you got to keep it on a padded surface. But you can turn your piece and, you know, work at it at these different angles. You can work front and back. You can work left to right. By this being a square, it's the same size on all sides. So. All right, so we got that. Flip this over. So that's really what it looks like once you see right here. So now I got my first lines in. So now I want to be kind of slick, for lack of a better term, and very intentional about where I'm going to put more pressure. So I want to put more pressure on the side. I went a little too far there, y'all. I want to put a little bit more pressure on the sides of these lines. It's almost like I'm making new lines. But in a way I am, but I'm working on this piece from the back side, and I'm pressing the pieces next to the sunken lines. I'm pressing those in. So at some point, you're gonna have a front and a back. This might be the front, or this might be the front. You'll end up choosing which part you like better. It could be this side, or it could be that side. We'll see. It's hard to say at this point. Oh, I'm on the wrong side. So yeah, I was on this side pressing in. And that's what I like about this tool, is this wideness. It helps me. I like the fork too, because it's also wide. Actually, this is a knife, but they all have the same handle. It has a wideness too, but it allows me to just press in and really get up in there and move that metal. Okay, so you see how I'm getting some better angles here with the tools. And I think I'm going to bounce back and forth between tools. So first I was using a knife handle. Now I'm using my spatula tool. Oh, actually, this is the modeling tool, sorry. Okay, so yeah, I'm bounced back and forth between the knife handle. And like I say, from your test piece, you'll start to see which tools you like better than others. That was the point of the test piece that we did. Remember this? That was the point of that, to see, I like this tool. You should get a feel for it. All right, so I'm bouncing. You don't have to even, you may end up not using all these tools, but I'm having them here just in case you end up needing them. And I'm like kind of in a rush a little bit. Normally I would take a little bit more time with this piece, but I just went over some of my lines that I put on the other side. But here's the thing, I can always go back this way and keep working on the other side. So it's just a back and forth thing here. So I'm back on this side. Is that tool? And now I'm back to the knife handle. You can go over the tape, but don't lift the tape. I mean, you can put the tool over the tape gently, but don't lift the tape, because remember what I told you about the corners here? They're very sharp. They're not razor sharp, but they are still sharp. So don't lift the tape. All right. So I'm really working this metal, y'all. How y'all like that? Oh my goodness, it kind of looks like my design. You feel me? So the only thing I didn't do was put in the triangles. But before I do that, I want to come back to these black lines and get them to go a little deeper. And that's where I think this tool would be great, this liner tool, because it's going to just make a line, a nice deep line. My lines got pushed out a little bit because I was working on the other side. You'll find too that each metal is different. The brass is a little bit more challenging to work with than the copper and aluminum. The aluminum is going to be the most easiest because it's light. It's very, what do they call it? Malleable. It's just easy to work with. The copper is not bad though. You'll like the copper. You'll like it. The brass is probably the most difficult one. So I put the most difficult metal first. And again, you can turn this from different angles. This doesn't have to be the front of your artwork, but it could. Again, you'll get to choose which side is the front and which side is the back. Now it's time for me to try to put these triangles into the design, because as of right now, the triangles do not exist on the back because I didn't put any pressure there. So I have to put some pressure here so that we can see the triangles. I would say with a shape like a triangle, this would be a great tool because it's got that sharp end, it's got the pointy end, and also I'm even thinking the toothpick can get some fine detail. But I'm gonna try these two ends of this tool because it's gonna take us less time. The toothpick will take us more time, but it'll maybe get a finer job. It'll do a finer job though. So I'm gonna be pressing in here. Yeah, I'm just making big sweeping movements. Maybe you didn't see that. I'm making really big sweeping movements on the metal because I want all, this is how I know I've worked this area, because it's not black anymore. Okay. And here I'm going to do the same thing. Big sweeping movements with this liner tool. Remember to press in and press hard. Now, that's why I say you can relieve a little pressure, a little stress here. Get that stress off of you and just put it into this metal. And the cool thing about using a permanent marker, you start to see, you start to notice these changes that you're making in the metal because the marker starts rubbing off. So it becomes evident to you that you're making these changes. Whew. Now, take breaks because, you know, I'm putting all this pressure into here. You know, take breaks, catch your breath. Flip it over, you start to see the triangles. It's not showing up on the camera as much as I would like, but it is a little bit, like you can kind of see that here, okay? That shape is becoming more evident. What's gonna help that shape pop out is when you work on the back side. So like I said, you're gonna be going back and forth, back and forth. So over here on the back side, I know that's a triangle. So I want this triangle to pop out and to stand out more. So let me try to define it by adding some lines here. Lines is just definition, right? All right, so you see how that's standing out already? Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh, there goes a triangle. And there's actually one right here. Also, why it's important to keep your design very simple, because imagine this was a, you know, a face or something. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of work. Keep it very simple. Lines and shapes, y'all. Lines and shapes. So there's also a triangle here. So I'm actually not supposed to be pressing on the lines from the back side. I'm supposed to be pressing around the lines. Does that make sense? You're gonna, so look at my design. You're not pressing here on the back, you're pressing here. By pressing this in, you make this pop out on the back side. That makes sense. Okay, so here we are on this side. So I've now determined the front and back. I've determined that I like this side way better. I want this to be my front and I want this to be my back. This tool can help also. It's big and wide, and if you just need to get a lot of ground covered, I will use this tool. The spatula tool, see? You see that? It gets a little tricky because maybe I rubbed off some of the shapes, like I'm kind of rubbing off my triangle. That's kind of a problem. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back from the back side and put it back in. Feel free to kind of, yeah, pop it back so that your corners aren't doing some strange things. You want it to be a little bit flat. Okay, so now that I lost that triangle there, I'm gonna work on the back side and try to get it back. So that's actually this triangle. So the kind of detail that you can get in brass is gonna be different than the type of detail that you can get in copper and in aluminum. I just want you to know that. But you'll start to see, you'll be like, oh, wow. One metal may be easier or even more difficult for you. And it could vary by person. Go ahead and put a little pressure in there. Release some stress, y'all. Put some pressure into those grooves. Now let's turn it over and see if my triangle is back. I can see it. But that's the point of the repoussé. You want subtlety. It's not overdoing it. It's all about subtlety. Okay, so I'm just about done with this piece. So I'm thinking we might be ending just a few minutes early. But what I'm going to do before I do end, did you notice I flipped it over and I'm going back over these lines? I think I want to make sure that my lines really stand out the way I want them to. Okay, I think that did help. See? It's more pronounced now that I did that. Also, because you are working on both sides, you can add some pressure to this side. I'm going to show you the toothpick tool. This is our last tool. I don't think I showed you this one. Like I said, this is a very subtle tool. As you know, with a toothpick, it's wooden. It breaks, it snaps in two. So you have to kind of go easy with this. This is not the tool that you're going to put a lot of pressure on. These plastic tools are the ones you're going to put a lot of pressure on. Even the silverware, you should go easy on the pressure with that too. Go very easy with the silver because it can break. Go very easy with the toothpick because it can break. But what I'm using a toothpick to do really is to go back over those lines and just make sure they're popping out the way I want them to. And that's also why I gave you extra toothpicks. And it felt like that end was breaking. So that's why I flipped over to the other side of the toothpick. Okay, so here's something that I put in the instructions. I said to be careful not to apply too much pressure to the point where the tool breaks through the metal to the back of the foil. So you all probably won't have this problem, but if you were to go really crazy, really insane with the pressure, well, like say maybe one of these pointy tools, you could break through to the bag. And that's why we got goggles, y'all. Because when you're doing like this, that's your eye. All right, you need goggles. But if you do take them off, just be conscious of this kind of stuff. Don't, you got goggles, so please use them. Step 4. After the creation of your sample piece, begin working on the final draft based on the drawing you created in the beginning in paper. So we've already done that. We're basically finished with our finished piece. And it says to frame the finished piece. But before you frame the finished piece, remember, we only have one frame, but we do have 3 Ray Pouzé projects. So don't frame today. We're going to frame when you get to your copper project. Once you do the one in copper, you'll choose the best one and frame it. But what you can do with this is just kind of let it be your sample, okay? However, there is one last final step. With this black marker, I know you're like, well, what are we going to do with the paper towel? I'm about to show you. With this black marker. This also could have been done in black paint. You might want to kind of just go all the places that you wanted your lines to sink in. This is what I want you to do. Take your black marker and do what I just did. Just rub in there. Then you're going to take this paper towel and kind of move this black marker stuff around. And it's going to give you even more definition. You see that? Now these shapes are really starting to pop out. So I might have put too much black marker. Try to do it right away before the marker dries. You see how quick I had to do that? You got to be really quick with the black marker. So you're going to put the black marker and then rub it in. This would have been very effective in paint, but I didn't want to give you paint because that would have been very messy and just yet something extra for you to do. And since we needed a black marker anyway, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna just use the black marker for this. Okay, so rub that in. Again, your first piece in brass might not be your best. I mean, I don't think this is bad, but it could be a little bit better. So don't have extraordinarily high expectations of your very first piece. Remember, you're just kind of playing around. It's probably your first Ray Pouzé, which is why we're going to do this 3 times. Because out of 3, we're going to choose the best of 3 to frame. Okay, so see how things are kind of, you can see the highs and lows, the hills and the valleys now that I put the black marker in. So that, again, just like we wanted in our design, that's our hill, that's our valley. And we even got a hill, a valley over here. Everywhere that's sunken in is now our valley. I'm painting that black. And right away, rub that in. So it's not so much contrast. I mean, it can look kind of messy if you have too much contrast. So rub it in right away, before it dries. Okay. Rub that in. So don't rub it all in everywhere because you want some of the brass to show, obviously. You want some of this brass to show. You just don't want it to be all brass. This is an optional step, by the way. So if you like what you saw in the brass without the black marker, then by all means, don't use the black marker. Also, so you have a lot of choices to make here. Also, you could have said, hey, I don't like that side at all. I like this side. Totally up to you. The cool thing about using the other side is that it already has the black marker on it. So now this again becomes an optional step. All right, class, so you have, for the most part, finished your Repoussé project. This is what it looks like finished. Not bad, right? Not gonna bet that could be the side that I prefer. This side I feel like it's a little bit more neater, less messy. This side is a little messier, but I like that look. I like the just free form kind of look. I don't like it to be so rigid. This side feels very rigid to me. But again, it depends on what you like. You might like that look. You might not like this look. It's up to you. And again, you don't have to frame this one, but you could. Maybe this is the winner. So let's get out our frame. Where did I put the frame? Okay, I found the frame. Here's the frame here. So the cool thing about the frame, I just want to show you all this, and I'll show it again too when we get to the copper. It's going to hide that tape. So that tape is not going to be a nuisance anymore. And you'll have some sticky tack, which also came in your bag that you're going to stick in the corners. It's going to allow that piece to stick in here. So we were talking about the sticky tack. So your sticky tack is in this Ziploc bag with straw in it. I put it in a Ziploc bag so that it wouldn't just be floating around in the bottom of the bag, because this is something that's very important but very easy to lose. You don't need the scissors, but since I happen to have them right next to me, I'm gonna tell you why you don't need the scissors, because the sticky tack has already been pre-cut for you by the manufacturer. It's just a little piece of, you see that? Little piece of gooey stuff. It's been pre-cut. So what you gotta do is rip it, just snap it apart like that. You're gonna put your sticky tack in the corners. Hopefully you can see down here. You're gonna put your sticky tack in the corners of your artwork. Even if it goes over a little bit, it's okay, because this is a huge matte frame. It's gonna cover a lot of stuff. They're not gonna see that. That's the trickery that goes into art. This is what you don't see. Okay, so see, you just snap it apart. You don't need the scissors. I just use the scissors because I had them next to me. But there are scissors in your bag, but save that. That's for another project. Okay, so you got your sticky tack in your four corners. You see that? Now put that back flat. There is a front and a back to your mat. The side that has the texture on it that feels, oh, that's kind of nice. That's the front. And the side that's extremely flat, that's just like, you know, like something that just slide off here, that is the back of your mat. So you want your sticky tack Repoussé. Sorry about that, I had to swipe left. You want your sticky tack Repoussé to go face down. Okay, remember, front and back, make sure you got your sticky tack on the front of your piece, not on the back. Remember I said I didn't like that side. I said I like this side. So this is the front for me, but it could be different for you. So you got your sticky tack in the four corners. You're going to press down in the corners of your Repoussé so that the sticky tack stays stuck. Does anything stay stuck forever? No. So if this ever does fall, then you know why, because it's not going to be on here forever. And if you have the money, go ahead and buy yourself a professional frame, because you have just completed a professional work of art. So what I was showing you all was how you can sign your name. Bridget's down to one angle at this point, so I'm just going to kind of hold it up like this. I sign right here, which is actually on the bottom right hand side. So just sign there, but doesn't it look so much better? And I also went back with my marker and darkened some of the valleys. Okay, so even after it's in the frame, if you want to keep working on it, you can. Typically, we don't do that, but you know, we gotta do what we gotta do to make this piece look great. So it is now finished. And at this point, like I say, you can put this in a frame, maybe to Eric's frame, Michael's, anywhere you can think of, to a frame, and put this in a frame and stick it on your wall if this is the best piece, because you only got one of these good black pre-cut mat boards. So remember, the best one goes in a frame. And if you got three that are great, then take it to Eric's. I've been framed, and get all three of them framed. How about that? Okay, so that concludes our Ray Pouze in brass session. I thank you all so much for joining us. And please come back, because next time we're going to be working in aluminum. And that's going to be a lot of fun and maybe a little easier. So hope to see you then. All right. Ciao.